That's it. We'll go ahead and prep the back side of the bed next. That way we could start mocking up the rear section of this chop. That's it. That's the cut you're gonna want. Basically remove the lip on this mount here on the insides. Cut the bottom straight, flush with the metal here. Cut down and cut across, and that'll get it to clear this type of rear cut on the frame. I've done it the other way also. I just feel this is easier. You don't have to remove that cross member. And on some, it has the longer leaf spring pack. This one has the short, the 52s, but it just gives you a little more meat here to mount your bumper brackets. And to get everything lined up and holding, I use these butt welding clamp sets. You could get them at Harbor Freight for like $7. The 8-piece one will pretty much do the whole truck. You could just run them all down one side, line your lines up right, start tacking, pull them off, and put them on the other side as well. The way these work, you slide this through the sheet metal. Like that. You slide this bar across. Once you're putting it on your other panel, you line it up, and then once you tighten it, it'll make these two metals meet. And then it gives you a nice little gap to weld as well. Slide it. You see this metal right here? Just go ahead and pick it up and then clamp it, and then I'll start lining it up. Yeah, it's fine. Once we put the clamps on there, it'll start lining everything up. Alright, right now we just have a vice grip holding on the rear piece. We'll start putting our butt welding clamps on, start lining everything up, start tacking. So for these, slide it in there, then you have to run this bar across There you have it. This side of the panel actually needs to come up. The main thing on lining this up would be this body line here. We need to match that. And then everything else will start lining up as well. Here's another point where you need to get right. It's a lot lower on this side. They are loose right now, but we can make our adjustments, get everything lined up. As you're lining it up, you just start tightening them down with the wrench. That way they can hold really good. All right, next up we got the floor to tack. So we'll start by making sure our lines are straight. Then we'll get a screwdriver and start prying it up, start lining everything up. And we'll start putting some tacks down. That pretty much completes the rear part. We'll go ahead and get started on cutting the inner wall on the back side there. Show you guys how to do that. Then we'll cut the floor and prep the front part of the bed. For the inside wall cut, we'll use a square. We'll mark this side first. Go ahead and turn it around. And go ahead and measure our line. This should be a 14-inch cut. You could put tape on the outside, that way it can help you see the line. But on this yellow, it's pretty clear. So we'll go ahead and chop that next. Alright, the next thing we're gonna have to do is remove these 3 bolts. There's one right there on the back side. That way we could remove this inner panel and then finish the cut. On the back side one, we'll get it with the Sawzall from the inside. On this one, we could cut it with the cutoff wheel. that's our inner wall piece. The next thing we'll do, clean up the floor a little bit here. We'll mark down our 14-inch cut line for the floor. Start prepping this thing, put it back together. Alright, the rear section's cut. We'll go ahead and cut along the other tape line. Take out the center section and start lining up the sheet metal. Alright, that's pretty much it. Once we start lining everything up, we'll get all these gaps even. There's our floor cut, pretty straight. Let's see the other side. This body line still doesn't match, so this side of the panel will need to go up higher, and that'll close that gap there. On this side there was maybe about a 1/4 inch of bondo in some spots. We still managed to get a decent scar. This is probably the worst part of the bed. Alright, let's go ahead and we'll separate this piece. I'll grind down the bed so we could tack the inner cut, and then we'll start lining these panels up. Alright, we could go ahead and start lining up our panel now. We'll line up this inner corner here first on both sides, and then we can start running our butt welding clamps. Start getting this line nice and even. Start tacking. corner here tack first. We'll start lining it up that way, and then we could get this body line here next, and then we'll get everything else lined up. We'll let a little bit of slack off of these clamps, that way we could get this body line right. Alright, so I'm going to push down on this side, and from the bottom I'm going to use my knee to pick up this side of the panel. Let me get something so I can put a little more pressure on the clamp. Alright, so we'll put one tack right on the tip of this this body line here. Hit this corner here next. Start moving the butt welding clamp down, making sure your panel's nice and even, and work your way all the way down. We'll go ahead and continue our way down. Up here you can see where it got like a little bit tighter. We can start making our tacks and then run a cutoff wheel through there. Make a cut, that way it has a gap to weld. You never want the sheet metal to be touching each other. You always want a gap so the weld penetrates in between. There you have it. This part's almost done. Just gonna have to take a quick break, that way I could charge my camera. Then we'll get right back to it.